a conversation with Leroy George, the Public Relations Officer at the Tobago Writers Guild. Good morning, Leroy.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing lovely. In a very good spirit today.
How's the weather in Tobago this morning, Leroy?
On and off showers. We had some heavier showers yesterday, but today looks like it's going to be a bright day, probably because God is smiling on our little event that's going to be taking place today, tomorrow, and the following day, and wants to make sure everyone can get to the Port Mall.
Definitely, and we can see that you are ready with that light as well, looking dapper as ever with your white and that beautiful green in the background. So tell us a little bit about the book sale that's going to be taking place.
So the Tobago Writers Guild, we have about 20 to 30 published authors in terms of persons that have published books. We have even more than that in terms of published authors when you include things like newspaper articles, magazine articles, etc. And we want to focus on the books where this is concerned. Our team has to do with speaking positivity into our children's future by reading or through reading. And so we're going to have discounts on all of our books, but we're going to be focusing especially on those books that would focus on the development of our children, not just in Tobago, but in the Trinidad and Tobago space. We're going to be having it on the first floor of the Port Mall every day from today till Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. and ending at 5 p.m. We're going to have representatives of the Tobago Writers Guild, especially executive members like myself, like Chris and Daniel, who I believe is on via phone, like the president, Jewel Green, who is on television. She has a program also where she speaks about different books, how to get published, etc. We're all going to be there at different parts. So if you are interested in joining the Tobago Writers Guild, it's a good place to be there. And if you're visiting Tobago, you know we have a lot of Trinidad visitors right now. If you're visiting Tobago and you want that souvenir, that would make sure that you remember Tobago and your experience and be connected to Tobago in a way that could only be done when you communicate, whether it be through speaking or reading, you know, writing, they say is formalized thought. You want to really carry back a piece of Tobago with you, I'm going to suggest the Port Mall. It's called the Port Mall because it's right outside the seaport of Tobago. I'm going to suggest you just walk into the Port Mall front door, right on the bottom floor. You're going to see us right there with all our books. Come
Wonderful.
and buy a nice souvenir. Come and speak some positivity into the children's future.
Wonderful. Let's bring Chrisan into the conversation. Chrisan, of course, as you mentioned, Leroy is joining us by phone. Chrisan is the Assistant Secretary of the Tobago Writers Guild. Good morning, Chrisan.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about this wonderful event that's taking place and has already started. Now, I know there are some other features as well, that there's also a read aloud. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, the read aloud is basically, we, as the team had said, we are reading is speaking words of success into our future, and we want everyone to come in to read. So we have invited a lot of guests from Tobago, persons who will be coming and doing a reading session. So the reading session is going to start around 10:30 a.m. until. So we have a lot of readers, different readers lined up to read, and also we've also invited the children. We've invited certain schools to come in to participate in that event, and even from the Tiny Tots. We even have from small as a Tiny Tots for Jesus children. These are no kindergarten readers. So we really want to also capture that crowd, that age group, where we want to build that interest and make children want to read and enjoy reading, and even have children tell their stories. We're having children coming from St. Patrick's Anglican School who, during their class project, they had written stories. So they will also be coming and read their stories that they wrote on that day as well. So most of the read aloud will be taking place on Friday. So we expect a lot of children to come in and take part. We'll also be having a nice cozy corner where the children can sit and read quietly. So we really want to invest in our children and make them, be proud of who they are and write how they feel, and do so well in our society.
Wonderful. So let's bring Leroy back into the conversation. Thank you so much for that, Chrisan. Leroy, there's also talk of an open mic taking place soon. Can you share with us about that as well?
Yes. in the Tobago Writers Guild, we promote all different genres of writing, and that I would have mentioned articles, I would have mentioned books, but we also have artists. As a matter of fact, our last president before our present president, Miss Jewel Green George, or Mrs. Jewel Green George, rather, I should remember that as a husband. Anyway, he was an artist himself, sings reggae music. And so one of the things we did during the time of a former president called Rodney Pigott, he was a spoken word artist. He was originally from Tobago, lived in the States for a while, was part of the spoken word movement out there. When he came back, he implemented this open mic situation whereby artists who have their own original work that they wrote for themselves, they do come on. We used to do it at Apex. We did it at another location previous to that, and we're going to be finding more diverse locations around Tobago in order to find it. If you want to know where we're having it in any given week, or we do it once a month, or any given month, you could just check out our Facebook page. That is the Tobago Writers Guild Facebook page, or you could email us at tobagowritersguild123@gmail.com, or you could even call my number. I'm the PRO 750-8369 if you're calling from a local phone. If you're calling from an international phone, +1 868-750-8369.
Wonderful. Leroy, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Chris-Anne, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you taking some time out before your activities start today. And looking forward to having you back on again on the show as you continue to really just support our culture and support our youth as well. Have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful day, and thanks for having us on board.
It was a pleasure.
It's been our pleasure. Leroy George and Chris-Anne Daniel Rochford talking to us this morning about the Tobago Writers Guild and their Java activities. And there's a lot more that's coming up on the show what you're going to be excited about. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few moments.